Another of the committees from the summit is we call the race conditions. To present this is John Harris, who has been an owner and breeder in California for over 40 years. He is a archetype of what you like to think of a commissioner, in that he has great dedication to the sport and a great deal of experience and knowledge about all aspects of it. John Harris from California.
Thank you, Ed. Probably one of the first things I learned when I came around the track about racing conditions is somebody said, be sure to keep yourself in the best company and your horses in the worst company. And it doesn't always work that way, though. But I was interested to be on this committee because obviously the variety of races that we can run in are very important to the owners and the success of the whole sport. And I think I've always been a frustrated racing secretary. They say in California, people talk about if you scratch a farmer deep enough, you'll find a developer. Or my thought, if you find an old-time owner, if you scratch an old-time owner deep enough, you'll find a racing secretary. Although I'm probably about as popular around racing offices as Elliot Spitzer would be at a marriage counseling session. On our committee, let's see. Whoops. Where's our committee at here? Well, we had a committee member somewhere, but we had a great committee of well, they skipped the slide with the committee, but we had a cross-section of racing offices and trainers, and accomplished quite a bit, although what we're really looking at here is more of a model rules where every state and racing office is probably going to looking at it a little differently. But some of our responsibilities were to create more creative condition books and examine nutritional purse distributions, look at auction races, which we're going to come back to, how we might be able to do that. Races for geldings, we didn't really push that too much. Balancing the claiming price to the purse level and different handicap categories. And also to develop trainer stats or overall power rating to indicate the trainer's overall performance. There was some concern that just looking at a trainer's win percentage might have distorted things and in the bettor's mind, or particularly in owners looking for trainers, it was too simplistic just to look at what percent a trainer may be winning at. Some of the model rule changes we looked at would be uniform rules for auction races, uncoupled entries for owners. The owner thing varies by state. In California now, the entries are coupled. We're looking at CHRB's got a proposal to uncouple them where they're different trainers and slightly different owners in each half of the partnership. Increased time on vets list before next entry for scratches on race day. The whole vets list deal is done differently by states, and we had some ideas on that. And the potential to avoid claims on breakdowns or did not finish horses, and increased time between taking entries and race day. Oh, here we get to my committee members. So this was the committee, and appreciate working with everybody, and particularly all the help that we got from the people from the Jockey Club that helped us on this. On auction races are somewhat of a, well, really are a new concept in the U.S. I think they're done in some places in Europe. And the concept was that claiming races are kind of overdone. There was a race yesterday at Bay Meadows, which was kind of a series that the purses progressed upward. But anyway, the horse that won it, there were 24 claims in for one horse. There were 36 claims in for another horse. They're all running for $10,000. So the idea would be an auction race where there's a lot of interest in a given horse, that you could get more for that horse following the race, and to be a split in the proceeds between, with most of it going to the original owner, but some going into a pot that would help the purse or whatever you wanted it to do. The bidders would be licensed owners, be the same people that could conceivably make a claim and have money in their account. And the starting bid would be written into the race. It'd probably be something slightly above the whatever the claiming price was. And it'd come up that we didn't want these to be a situation where the original owner could just buy his horse back where there's really no risk to him, he would be limited on how high he could bid. So he might be able to bid twice the starting bid. So the owner would come out well because he'd be getting more money for his horse, but he wouldn't, if the horse ended up, breaking his maiden very impressively, he wouldn't have a lock on getting it back. We looked at uniform purse distribution, and I frankly think this is something that does need to be left to the individual tracks and horsemen, but it's good to have a model, and the model that we felt worked was this one. I think there was a thought that we needed to pay back all places, which is some people feel different ways about that, but to take anything from sixth to last, which would be if you had those last 5 horses would each get 0.5%, and that would come off the win. So that would actually change the win percent from 60 to 55, but you'd pay, well, not quite that. Anyway, that would come off the win, and everybody in a race would get a little bit of something. Actually, in some places, they're actually paying starting fees as well. The purpose of uncoupling would be to increase wagering interest, especially with so much exotic wagering. If you, the statistics look, very promising if you go from a 7-horse field or 8-horse field or 6 to 7. I guess the knock on that was that some people would feel that having an owner that had 2 horses in the race would give that owner an unfair advantage, or there could be some shenanigans going on, but I don't think that can be policed other ways, I feel. On the vet scratches are been a big issue of debate. The model rules did not run back for 10 calendar days. You could enter back because our entries were so far out, it's just we couldn't run back for 10 days. And that probably would need to vary depending on the track. One problem is if a vet scratch, I think in the industry, at least from my experience, is that vet scratches are not really vet scratches. They're just the trainer didn't like to run on the rail or something like that, so put in a vet scratch for colic or something and get out of the race. So it's a tricky area to regulate. Another idea we had was that if you claimed a horse, you'd have a right to pay for the horse to go to the test barn, and if the horse tested positively, I think we have to define positively for what, you could void the claim. Also on breakdowns, should a claimed horse due to injury or distress fail to return to the designated saddling area after the finish of the race and unsaddle with the rest of the field, the steward shall void the claim unless the claimant notifies the stewards prior to the start of the next race he wants the claimed horse. So it got tricky to define really what was a breakdown versus a horse that just pulled up bad, but I think that the language we settled on, if he couldn't make it back to get unsaddled to the normal place, that claim could be voided unless conceivably somebody would want the horse anyway. So I don't know, the part about want it anyway might get more complicated to administer than it was worth. Trainer power ratings, as I mentioned, the concept is trying to develop other ways, and I think this is really more of an inventory of data that would be someplace and could be tweaked any way that any but one wanted to. But with the whole technology age that we live in, I think people like to look at numbers different ways. And some of the things that we've used traditionally are pretty simplistic, just win percentage, which win percentage still is probably as good a barometer as anything. But to look at other type of ratings, one of the allegations, but I'm not sure I buy into it completely, is that trainers are sometimes hesitant to enter horses because they think of themselves as a 25 or 30% win trainer. They don't really want to run a horse if that's going to have a good likelihood of compromising their percentage. So if we had some other kinds of ratings that maybe would reward other things. these power ratings are basically based on your ability to earn purse money and provide a return. They're really broken into what you call a batting average, which is the average percent of purse money earned by a trainer factored for field size. So it would really be absolute dollars, but by percentages. And an ROI would be if you bet $2 to win on everything that trainer started, and you made an adjustment for the takeout, how much money you would have. So if a two would be that you broke even, but now a lot of trainers are starting, you know, 1,000 horses a year or so. So it would be a pretty good indicator. Although if a smaller trainer might be distorted a little bit. These are the some of the power ratings of what they ran, and shows the win percentage and the win place and show percentage with the batting average and the ROI. So most of them look, you know, fairly good, but I don't know how much they would be used as far as fans or potential owners, but it's just with all the data we have, it's just one more thing that people can look at. This is the same thing by batting average. And return on investment. So I think we tossed around a lot of good ideas, and some of them we haven't really gotten closure on, particularly the auction race. We really would like to find some track, some place to do the auction race, and it's one of those things, the devil's in the details, to work out all the little details of how it's going to work. But I think so many of us, especially if you're an owner breeder that maybe has a horse that's worth 50 or 60, and you thought that there was, but you really kind of liked the horse, and you knew that if you won impressively, you were going to get more for it. That would give some incentive to run it in an auction race versus just a regular claiming race, or you could always go an allowance race, but that might be a tougher spot. So I appreciate being on this committee and all the work that everyone put into it. Thank you. We'll probably get together for questions later.
Thank you very much.